Ho 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 losers! I'm Coral. Welcome to my channel. I'm here today early. Well, it's early while I'm filming this because I had this idea. Anyway, okay, wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm here filming this early. This is my December TBR. I'm participating the whole month of December in another wonderful readathon, watchathon, activity-a-thon brought to us by Kelsey Slime and Slashers. This is winter themed, holiday themed, non-denominational. You read a book, do an activity, watch a movie, and then look through the list of prompts and then see what prompts your activity, read, movie fulfilled and record it. So there's nice prompts and naughty prompts, or if the amount of prompts on the naughty and nice list are equal, then they cancel each other out, and then it's points, instead of going towards Santa or Krampus, they are elf points. He's a little mischievous guy. And then depending on who you score the most points for at the end, that is what team you're on. So you don't really know what team you're on until the end of the readathon, which is kind of fun. The reason I'm filming this much earlier than I normally would though, is because I had this idea because a couple years ago, I did like a book advent type of thing for my daughter. And it was a cool idea. I didn't do like a full advent. I only did like 12 days because it's expensive to buy books, right? Even used books. It was probably like 60 bucks. Maybe more. I don't know. It was a couple years ago. However, she's like, it was a cool idea, but she's not a big reader. So I don't even know how many of those she's read. And like 0 of them have been voluntarily because she does it for fun. Like the ones that she's read have been because she has to do it for school. And I've always been like, oh, how cool would that be for myself to do like a book advent for myself. But like I said, it's fucking expensive. And so I was like, can't really do a book advent for myself, but what if for my TBR for December, I just picked out like a bunch of fucking books. I wrapped them all up so I didn't know what they were. And then what I'm gonna do, because like some of them are distinguishable by size, which is why I picked a lot of them. I've got like more than 30 here. One is definitely like really distinguishable because of its shape. But then I number them. I'm gonna put sticky notes on them. And number them, and then like once I pick it, I'll put the sticky note on the other book, because the biggest dice that I have is 20-sided. I think some of the books I'll probably mix them up and put sticky notes on different books each time. I don't know exactly how we'll do it quite yet. Or maybe I'll do a random, actually, you know what? I'll just do a random number generator. That's much easier. Why did I not think of that the first time? Duh. Oh my god. It's probably because I was rolling a dice for something else earlier. I don't know. Anyway, so I'll use a random number generator. I'll number my books. I'll use a random number generator. And then it'll be random. I'll wrap them up. So it'll be like a little secret. Maybe I'll still put sticky notes on them, just so that the number will be different each time. Anyway, so it'll be like a little fun, almost like a book advent for me, except for that there are books I already have and I'm not doing it each day, but like a little hit of dopamine every time I choose a new book. And then also, because the thing is that I was also like, for the Holiday Hell, readathon. Did I tell you that that's what it's called? It's called Holiday Hell. I feel like I left that very important detail out. The Holiday Hell readathon. I really want my results to be super random. So then I was thinking, like, what if I don't know, I was like, how do I make this so fucking random and not, I don't know, I think I'm just gonna have to tally all my results up at the end. But I feel like this will help in making it more random because I don't want to skew my results at all. I know some people are trying to work to be on a specific team, and that's okay. I just don't want to do that at all. I want it to be completely random. I haven't even looked at the prompts yet. So now, 10 minutes into this, I'm going to tell you now about the books that I've picked, and then I'm also going to do my TBR pull and my cart pick. But first, there are 2 books that are 100% getting read in December. First one here, At Dark I Become Loathsome by Eric LaRocca. He reached out, asked if I wanted a review copy. I said yes, 100%. So I'm going to be reading this, providing a review. This is about a man who lost his, okay, it said his wife died and his young son disappeared. So I don't know, did those 2 things happen simultaneously? I have no idea. Obviously, grief. And since then, he has started sort of, not professionally, but helping or speaking to people who are also going through, maybe working through trauma of their own. I wouldn't say necessarily it's narrowed down to grief, but you know, people who are having a hard time and need someone to talk to. So he gets involved with a person named Jinx and they begin a relationship. It says it traps them in an ever-tightening spiral of painful revelations where long-hidden secrets are dragged, kicking and screaming into the light. So I don't know what that means, but does it have to do with the people in Ashley's past? Does it have to do with his family? I don't know, but I'm interested in what this has to offer. I love Eric LaRocca's writing so much. And then a book that a friend loaned to me. This is Nightshade by Carrie Lake. This is a fucking gigantic gothic romance novel that I'd like to get through this month so that I can give it back to her, because it's so easy for me to be like, thank you, and then put it to the side, but I don't want to do that, so it's gotta get read. My coffee is cold, but the peppermint mocha creamer that I like was at the grocery store today, so that makes me happy. I've been waiting for that. Okay, now I'm gonna go through the books that I picked out. I picked out all the books on my shelf that I could find that either had, like, I knew they were wintry, or they definitely had like winter in the title. They had snow on the cover, things like that. Starting with Dreamcatcher by Stephen King. I've never read this. This copy that I bought, apparently it's an ARC copy, which is kind of interesting. So I've never read this one before. I remember watching the Terrible movie. I remember it being terrible, at least. I think at one point when I was a teenager, I borrowed this from the library and I read maybe some of it and then didn't finish it. Not because I didn't like it, but because I didn't read it fast enough to finish it before I had to return it to the library. I feel like in the vein of It, right? Where a group of friends, something happens to them as children, and now as adults, they have to like come back together and confront what happened in their past. So I remember also Aliens. I don't know. Then, I don't know if this has anything to do with winter, but The Black Hunger by Nicholas Pullen. I picked this one out because I was thinking hunger, was thinking Thanksgiving. It has a bunch of food on the cover. I was thinking Thanksgiving. So that's next week, and why not? I mean, I don't think I'm gonna read it. I just don't have time to read it this month because I've got a lot of shit going on, including Thanksgiving. So I'm going to read it in December and hope that it gives me delicious, gluttonous Thanksgiving vibes. This is a historical horror book. I really don't know what it's about. The synopsis is very vague. I think that this takes place in Europe. That's all I know. Also on my list is Candy Cane Kills by Brian McCauley. This is a winter slasher about a family being targeted by a killer named Candy Cane. Which, honestly, when I hear that, I think of the movie Joyride. Do you remember that? That, like, early 2000s, like, teen horror thriller where the college kids are coming back. God, it has, what's his name? Steve? Oh God, it doesn't matter. But they're on the CB radio and they're catfishing a guy, and he gets really upset when he finds out that he's been talking to like 18-year-old boy instead of a lady, and then he stalks them through states, almost, kind of. I don't know if it's quite that far, but it's a great movie. It's funny. It's not really funny. I really like that movie though. I think it's still entertaining even as an adult. Okay, so I will say though, I looked over most of these when I picked them out, but my synopsis recollection, not great. Days later. Okay, so then we have Beneath Bone and Ash by D. Alexander Ward. This is about a small town sheriff, I believe pre-Civil War, who is looking for a missing child in a creepy house during a snowstorm. Also, Where the Dead Go to Die by Aaron Dries and Mark Allen Gunnels. This is about a hospice home for the undead. Just assume I'm saying allegedly after all of these synopsises. Also on my list, Red Harvest by Joe Schreiber. This is a Star Wars novel. I've wanted to read this for forever. I've had this for a couple years now. I know that this is like, oh, everyone's like, oh, this is the darkest Star Wars novel, allegedly. I don't know, I haven't read it, but hopefully I'll read it this time. I've also got Winterwood by Shay Earnshaw. This is a book about cursed woods, that's all I know. That one's like a YA fantasy book. Then, Solitude of Wolverines by Alice Henderson. This is about a biologist who is studying wolverines in Montana. She stumbles across some sort of like illegal operation, and then her life is in danger. I've not heard great things about this, but it stayed on my shelf because I kind of am still curious about it. So it's one of those books that I really feel like I should just read and then figure out. There's a couple here like that. It's like I want to read it just to figure out if it's bad or not, and then whether it stays on my shelves or not. Then this one, it sounds so weird. This is Girls Made of Snow and Glass by Melissa Bashardust. And it's like there's this teenage girl in this book. My autofocus keeps wanting to focus on Brendan Fraser's face instead of my own. Please. Okay, so there's this teenage girl and she gets married to this guy in this book. This is like a fantasy novel. And then she's the stepmother of a teenage girl who's only a year younger than her. And then of course, everyone's mad at each other because of this. And it's like, yeah, duh, that's so fucking weird. And I'm not really sure what the point of the book is though. And then a book I've had forever. This is Winter Song by S.J. Jones. And this I've kept, but I haven't read. I don't know why. It's like either read it or don't. But I've kept it for so long because I know that this is like labyrinthy, and like she is, the character in this is intrigued by a beautiful goblin king, and it's like, so it's the labyrinth, but then I haven't read it. I think because I'm worried about it being not good, and the Labyrinth is a movie that I've grown up watching, like ever since I can remember. I've loved the Labyrinth, so I'm worried about being, I just should have never bought it probably, but like I want to love it, but I know like you know, it's just hard to live up to your expectations when you really love something. But maybe it'll be good, I don't know. Not done yet, but here are some vintage novels. I'm also gonna wrap up here. Winter Wake by Rick Hautala. I don't know. I think this is like some sort of a revenge book. You know, the synopsises on a lot of these vintage books, they don't tell you shit about shit. And you're like, you read them and you read it and you read it. And you're like, I don't know what you're trying to tell me here, Helen. I have no idea. This one actually does make a little bit of sense. This is Tricycle by Russell Rhodes. I don't think that this takes place in the winter at all, but the skeleton boy, Simon, he is wearing winter gear. He's got his winter gear on. I don't know how a skeleton can be cold, but I mean, actually, it makes sense that a skeleton would be cold all the time because he's got no insulation. He's got nothing protecting his little bones. He's wearing loafers. But Simon, his mother is a teacher at a boys' academy. It seems like his mom might be having relationships with some of the students and the teachers. And it seems like, you know, the students and the teachers who Simon's mom has relationships with seem to go missing. And does Simon have anything to do with this? I guess we'll find out. They call him Simple Simon, but maybe he's not so simple. It says, punished by the last sound his dying brain would know, the squeak, squeak, squeak of a tricycle. Oh, that's funny. Salem, do you think that's funny? Okay, this is another one where it's like, what's happening here? I don't know. This is Blood Farm by Sam Siciliano, about a woman. I can't tell if she means to go to this place or not. She hitches a ride. It happens to be a hearse. I think that part is unexpected. The driver is a Vietnam vet, you know, because a lot of these books have ties to that, has that as a theme somehow, either like the main character or side characters, or in this case, a hearse driver. An Iowa Gothic, huh? This takes place in Iowa? That's interesting. I don't recall seeing many Gothic mansions in the middle of nowhere in Iowa, but okay. Icy Terror, Satan's Emissaries, Gorging on Blood. Maybe there's vampires. Would vampires drive a hearse, or is that too on the nose? I guess it makes sense that it's called Blood Farm if there's vampires. Another vampire book. Darkness on the Ice by Lois Tilton. This one does have a great cover. This one, another reoccurring theme, the SS, right? So this takes place in the Arctic, and it says Nazi SS officer who is at a weather station in the Arctic, and then men start disappearing. I mean, this person on the cover has fangs. I'm guessing vampires. I also chose Blood Games by Richard Lehman. Now this one I am not 100% certain it takes place in the winter, but the cover looks a little bit wintry, and it says it takes place at the Totem Pole Lodge, which makes me feel like, I don't know, lodge sounds like a ski resort to me. Which doesn't necessarily mean that they're there in the winter, but I'm gonna throw it in there. So this is about 5 friends who reunite now and then, and this time they're at the deserted Totem Pole Lodge, but this time the resort isn't quite as deserted as they think. So it's a Richard Lehman. So I know I'm in for some blood and guts and some breasts and some rumps. Also, Icefire by Robert C. Wilson. This is about people escaping from an asylum. Then I've got 2 teen horror books. First, The Snowman by R.L. Stine. This one, I don't know what this has to do with the snow, because the synopsis just says a rich girl named Heather who is worried that her guardian is going to steal her money, but then she meets a young man who is her Prince Charming. And I mean, I don't know. I don't know what that has to do with anything. And then a Fear Street super chiller, Silent Night, also by R.L. Stine. This is about Reva, who seems like a little bee, if I'm being honest. A little stuck-up bee, but she is getting stalked on Christmas. And it says her father owns department stores, which really sounds exactly like an 80s, 90s Christmas to me, honestly. So this one sounds perfect, just perfect. Then also Krampus by Brom. Never read this. I don't know what this is about, honestly. This is the one I was talking about. It's like, it's a very, like, all of Brom's books are this nice square shape. So the shape is identifiable, you know? So I know it's that. And then I'm like, I know it's that book. So I feel like I have to randomize things because otherwise that book sticks out. And then I feel like I'm not gonna pick it for some reason because I know it's that one. Also, I chose The Wanderers by Meg Howry, which isn't specifically wintry, but it's about a group of people training to go into outer space, which is very cold. And they're in a simulation, but I'm thinking if it's a simulation of space, it's gotta be also cold, right? Zach bought me this book a few years ago, and I did start it at one point, but I think it was just too literary for me at that time, so I set it down to be continued, and I never continued. So now, like, now's the time. I would like to, like, there was nothing wrong with it. I just think I was like, is this ever gonna go anywhere? But I was only like 40 pages into it. I think I was being a big bee about it. Also, some nonfiction, Dead Mountain by Donnie Eicher. This is about a group of hikers going through the Russian Ural Mountains through this pass called the Dyatlov Pass, and they didn't make it, right? And then people were like, what is going on here? So their bodies were discovered in a very strange way, and nobody's been able to tell quite what happened. Like, their death site was very strange. They don't know why these people did what they did. They basically froze to death because they left their tent. It seemed like they were fleeing from something almost. So it's a really interesting thing, and I've had this book for some time, and I always mean to read it in the winter time, and then I never do, and then I'm like, well, I gotta save this for winter, and then I don't read it, and then what am I doing with my life? Also, this book, Where the Dead Wait by Allie Wilkes. I really did not like her book. Well, I can't remember what it was called. I can't remember what it's called, but her other one, the first one, and then this one came in a Nightworms package. I was like, fuck, maybe this will be better. I don't know. This is another 1800s Arctic exploration book, which sounds like it should be right up my alley. But then the first one was not. So maybe this one will be. I didn't even read the synopsis because it's like, does it matter what it's about? Not really. So those are my winter books. And then I'm throwing in a couple other books that I just want to read just to spice things up so I don't feel like I'm all bogged down, because sometimes that happens. I get antsy and then I'm like, I hate this. Why did I do this? So first, The Queen by Nick Cutter. This is about 2 friends. One goes missing, and then the other friend finds the missing friend's phone on her doorstep, and it like changes everything kind of a thing. It sounds really good. I really like Nick Cutter. I really like his books a lot. Another newer one, An Academy for Liars by Alexis Henderson. This is a, what do they call it? Dark academia book. And this one seems like it probably has more fall vibes, but because it seems like it's probably starting at the beginning of a school year, but like maybe it'll go into winter. I don't know. I'm thinking of some of the other dark academia books that I've read, and if they go into the school year, like they get kind of wintry, but this is about like a magic-y school, of course. I've got a true crime book. I've got 2 true crime books actually. This one is The Yoga Store Murder by Dan Morris. This was about a woman who killed her co-worker just because her co-worker found out she was stealing shit at a Lululemon. I almost said LuLaRoe. Like the same fucking thing almost. A Lululemon, like athletic wear store. And then she tried to say that like, she tried to stage it like they had gotten robbed and she had also been attacked, but you know, they just always think that they're smarter than everyone else, and it just doesn't work out that way. Then, The Need by Helen Phillips, because I want to read her other book, Hum, but I feel like I need to read this first. So this is about a home invasion, but the person invading the home seems to know way too much about the family for it to be like coincidental. Very creepy. That's like one thing that very much scares me is home invasion stuff. I don't like that. I'm putting my foot down about it. Then Little Girls by Ronald Malfi. This is one I think I started this year. I don't know. This year has felt so, like, thinking back to the beginning of the year, I'm like, that was this year. But also, it also feels like it's gone by so quickly. It's so weird. Read about 40 pages of this and set it down. So I would like to try it again, figure out if I'm going to keep it or ditch it. I do typically really like Ronald Malfi. I don't know, this one just wasn't catching me at the time. Then another true crime book. This is Murder in the Family by Jeff Blackstock. It says, diplomat father, murdered mother, emotionally neglected children, an apparent cover-up. Family dinners will never be the same. So, I can't remember where I heard about this, but I immediately went out and looked for a copy afterwards. So maybe it was like an interview with the author or something. I'd also love to read Goodnight Pun Pun by Inio Asano. This is a manga. It says, I don't know what this is about, but I know that it has explicit content in it because when I found this copy, which I had been looking for quite some time, it was very expensive to buy like a used copy, but then I found it at Barnes & Noble, but it had like shrink wrap on it, right? It says, he wants to win a Nobel Prize and save the world. He wants the girl he has a crush on to like him back. He wants to find some porn. That's what he wants, but what does he get? And it's interesting because you see all the other people in this, at least from what I've read from the first couple pages, because I looked through it, they're all drawn like regular characters in a manga, but Pun Pun is like this little, I don't know, like little ghost with a beak. I don't know, what is he supposed to be? I don't know, he's just Pun Pun. He looks like a little bird, but like with a sheet over him. Like he's being a little sheet ghost. And then I rolled a dice twice to pick books off my TBR cart, although I think I'm gonna, I don't know. Should I roll again? Maybe I should just pick out of my, I think I'll just pick, okay, anyway. And then from those rolls, I picked Jawbone by Monica Ojeda, which is a book about friendship, and I think there's like also a obsessed teacher involved somehow, which sounds really interesting. And the other role was The Devil Takes You Home by Gabino Iglesias. This is a crime thriller novel. It really sounds like it's in the same vein of S.A. Cosby, who I love. Okay, so I don't think I'm gonna do my TBR thing because I kind of did that. Just not quite the way I usually do it. But I will draw a star. Oh, what color? What color is this supposed to be? Is this... I started running out of some of the papers, some of the colors of paper. So it's like, is this supposed to be yellow? Or is this supposed to be a color that I ran out of? And had to substitute whatever color this is for something else. I bet this is a horror book still. Ah, okay. Well, I read this. All Hail the House Gods by Andrew J. Stone. Okay, let's do it again. All horror books all the time. Again, white, which means it's most likely a horror book, but could be, I don't know, what else have I run out of? Maybe a sci-fi book. Ooh, All the Fiends of Hell by Adam Neville. Okay, I'm excited about that. Here it is, right here. All the Fiends of Hell by Adam Neville. The Red Night of Bells heralds global catastrophe, annihilation on a biblical scale. Seeing the morning is no blessing. The handful of scattered survivors are confronted by blood-red skies and an infestation of predatory horrors that never originated on Earth. An occupying force intent on erasing the remnants of animal life from the planet. Across the deserted landscapes of England, bereft of infrastructure and society, the overlooked can either hide or try to run from the infernal hunting terrors, until a rumor emerges claiming that the sea may offer an escape. Ordinary, unexceptional, directionless Carl is one of the few who made it through the first night. In the company of two orphans, he flees south, but only into horrifying revelations and greater peril, where a transformed world and expanding race of ravening creatures await. Driven to the end of the country and himself, he must overcome alien and human malevolence and act in ways that were unthinkable mere days before. So this is like an apocalyptic alien fucking demon novel or something. I don't know. But I was so stoked when this came in a Nightworms package, and bitch, I am so excited about this. Damn, what a good pick, TBR jar. I'm stoked on this one. Okay, so this is like my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 34. Oh god, I almost want to make it 35, but like, there's no way there's no point. I'm not gonna read all of these. There's no point. This is my 34 book TBR. I'm filming this way ahead of time because I need time to wrap these fucking things. I need a lot of time to do this. What am I thinking? What am I thinking? It's gonna be so much fun though. And then I have to make sure that I have wrapping paper, like the same wrapping paper. I think I do. I think I have one tube. I have like a lot of Christmas wrapping paper because like every year I buy one roll and then I just have like rolls and rolls that like don't... How is it that like I use wrapping paper but like I've had the same like 3 rolls for like 7 years? How does that happen? It lasts way longer than it should somehow. I just have like, I have like one tube in particular that is just endless. I don't know. Anyway, I'm not complaining. It's just kind of a mystery. I use it like every year. Crazy. Yes, thank you so much for watching. Again, I'd love to know, have you read any of these 34 books? Chances are that you have read at least one. I don't think I'll read even a third of these, but maybe I will. I'd love to know, are you participating in Holiday Hell? I'll make sure to leave all the deets below, so make sure to check out Kelsey's announcement video. This is an individual event, but there is a community for it, of course, where you can talk about all of your holiday stuff if you have anything going on. Again, it's non-denominational. You don't have to celebrate Christmas. You don't have to celebrate Hanukkah. You don't have to celebrate Kwanzaa or any other holiday taking place around this season. Of course, I only celebrate the commercialized aspects of this, of course. I mean, if you've watched my channel, perhaps you've gone on to that. So like, you know, I'm doing this just for fun. Also, no stigma surrounding what's on the nice list and what's on the naughty list. This is not, you know, Kelsey said there's no judgment surrounding, you know, things that are put on the naughty list. So I think we know that, but also don't like flagellate yourself if something you read is considered naughty. I mean, that's weird. Okay, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you later. Goodbye!